so much for joining us this morning for our Cross Border Logistics in Africa webinar. You can look forward to a session full of need to know information that will come in handy, especially if you're working with cross border logistics. And before we get started, we are just going to give it a few minutes and have a few more people join in, and then we will take it from there. Moving goods across Africa isn't easy. And if you're in the transport and logistics industry, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Cross-border logistics presents many challenges in the Pan-African region, from border delays to poor road infrastructure, all the way to keeping cargo safe and reducing fuel consumption. These obstacles increase costs, slow down supply chains, and impact businesses. But with the right technology, they become opportunities for smarter, data-driven logistics. At Geotab, we provide telematic solutions that give fleet operators real-time tracking, predictive maintenance, and fuel optimization, while reducing downtime and increasing efficiency. I've seen how companies are leveraging this data to streamline operations and make informed decisions. Geotab is transforming cross-border logistics across Africa, and thanks to key partnerships that drive innovation and connectivity in the supply chain. With a growing footprint across the continent, we're committed to redefining the future of fleet management, ensuring that goods move seamlessly, efficiently, and securely. Geotab Africa, where tracking meets intelligence. Hello and welcome to those who have just joined us. My name is Wendy Nemanashe and I am the host for today's webinar on how telematics is transforming trade in cross-border logistics. And of course, if any questions arise during the presentation, please make sure to use the comment section and our technical team will make sure to respond to each and every one of your questions and comments. As per norm with every other webinar, we make sure to take you in on our African footprint just so we can update you on what is happening in the Geotab world of data and telematics. So, Geotab's AI-powered telematics systems process over 55 billion data points every single day. But it's not just about the big numbers. It's really about turning all the data into real actionable insights that help businesses make smarter decisions. However, in line with today's conversation, we know that fleet operators in Africa are facing unique challenges, and that's why we've built strong partnerships with local businesses to tailor our solutions to what really helps or works in the African region. So let's take South Africa, for example. Our telematics solutions have helped companies cut fuel consumption by up to 20%. And in the African economy, well, looking at how we have fuel increasing, 20% is a lot. And that means it helps with cutting down costs on your fleet management budget. But that's real impact, real savings, and a real commitment to helping businesses run better. What you can expect from today's webinar is an overview on African cross-border logistics challenges, the impact of telematics on trade efficiency, and we'll also have a look at a case study on a logistics company that is leveraging telematics, just to see how it could come in handy and how the solutions would assist in making sure that your logistics fleet management as well is running efficiently. But that's not everything. We'll also give an overview on other African cross-border logistics challenges like fuel theft, misuse of vehicles, operational costs, bad driver behavior. And by the end of this presentation, I'm hoping that you will be equipped with the best practices for implementing a focused strategy that enhances fleet efficiency and operational resilience across borders. Additionally, you will gain a deeper understanding on how Geotab's telematic solutions optimize cross-border logistics. Africa's logistics networks, as I said, are facing major challenges. We are talking poor roads, outdated infrastructure, inefficient border procedures, you name it. These issues don't just make cross-border trade more expensive. They also slow it down. creating inefficiencies that hurt businesses and, most of all, the economy. Let's take the Trans-Kalahari Corridor, for instance. It's a critical trade route that links Namibia, Botswana, and South Africa. That route is meant to facilitate a smoother transport across the region. But there's still those challenges that we are facing along that route, too. We are going to have a look at the major logistics cross border challenges before we get into the sub challenges that we will address next. Our main cross border logistics challenges include infrastructure limitations, regulatory inconsistencies, and one also that is technological gaps. The biggest one, especially in the African region. But first on the list is infrastructure limitations. Improving Africa's transport and logistics networks can't just be about fixing potholes. This requires modernizing facilities, harmonizing regulations, and even ensuring trade routes actually deliver on their promise of efficiency and connectivity. This would obviously include upgrading border posts like the one Bait Bridge between South Africa and Zimbabwe, with electronic customs that will help reduce long queues and processing delays. If we have clearance systems in place, that wouldn't even be a problem anymore. However, things like developing and upkeeping key corridors like the North South corridor to ensure reliable road, rail, and port access from Durban to the DRC, for instance, will definitely make processes faster. However, we can also look in the direction of telematics. A telematic solutions that can support infrastructure limitations by offering route optimization based on real-time road conditions, geofencing for border posts, efficiency tracking, right? That will give you data on the go. And historical trip data to identify frequent bottlenecks, enabling logistics operators to plan around weak points and advocate for targeted infrastructure investment. This will also communicate to route planning, where if you know what route you took the last time, especially with historical trip data, you know which route you used the last time, and with feedback, you understand how that route was, or if you should change that route, you're also informed with that regard. However, without serious investments and coordination, these challenges will continue holding back economic growth and regional trade. Let's move on to the next challenge. One of the biggest challenges when it comes to cross border logistics in Africa is just how different each country's regulations can be. It's not just a matter of getting from point A to point B, but it's also that navigating of different rules for different countries. And unfortunately, even within the African region, those rules don't always align. Take customs procedures, for example. You might be moving goods from South Africa into Mozambique. And even though the countries are right next to each other, the processes couldn't be more different. In South Africa, you're using SARS e-filing system. And then you get to the border, and suddenly you're dealing with a totally different, sometimes a manual system on the Mozambican side. That alone can slow things down significantly. And it's not just with customs. Think about load limits. A truck that's compliant in Tanzania might not be compliant when crossing into Kenya and suddenly be over the limit. The same truck, the same load, but different rules. And that means fines, offloading, or worse, getting stuck at the weight bridge. We've seen these kinds of issues at major border posts like Bedbridge or Kasumbalesa, where trucks end up in kilometer long queues, becoming inconsistent documentation requirements or inspections, even. The procedure will just take time and it just adds layers of cost and complexity to businesses that really logistics companies or even just businesses in general shouldn't be dealing with. So, automatic solutions like Geotab can come in handy. With cross border compliance tools that we offer, we can help by providing real time data on vehicle load, automated trip reporting, and integration with customs. And as well as regulatory systems, really, to ensure that documentation is consistent and accessible, minimizing border delays and helping fleets adapt to varying country specific requirements. That means by being prepared through the help of telematics, you will then know how to be compliant for every other country you get into, as long as it's on your route and with proper planning. One of the biggest challenges, as I mentioned earlier, is technological gaps. We are still seeing across the African logistics sector the limited adoption of digital solutions. In so many regions, operations are still largely paper based. And that is a real challenge, especially while living in a world of fast paced and efficiency as an expectation from service providers. Think about it. You've got truck drivers filling in logbooks by hand, way bills being signed and stamped by multiple people at multiple checkpoints, even. And customs, the documentation is still being done manually. And this is at certain border posts, but it slows down the process. Not to mention that it's error prone. And it opens doors for delays, which is largely the problem here. What's worse is the lack of real time visibility. If a shipment gets held up in Lusaka or any other port, for instance, it could take hours, sometimes even days, before anyone along the chains finds out. That makes it nearly impossible to respond proactively or reroute goods efficiently. And it's not just about the delays, it affects everything from fuel consumption and delivery timelines to customer satisfaction. You have to explain to your customers why the delivery is late, which can be a tedious process. Now, imagine if we had a wider adoption of digital platforms and telematic systems that give fleet managers live data on vehicle location, route progress, maybe let's say fuel usage, and delivery status. We are talking about improved decision making, fewer errors, and a whole lot more transparency. That is with both the fleet managers and the customers. So the solution lies in adopting digital platforms and telematic systems across Africa's logistics sector to replace the outdated paper-based processes. These technologies can provide real-time visibility into the vehicle's location, aka tracking, um, also let you know on the fuel use and delivery progress, allowing for faster, data-driven decisions that reduce delays, errors even, and inefficiencies. But until that shift happens across the board, efficiency will continue to be challenged. Managing a cross border fleet has unique challenges that can seriously impact efficiency and profitability. So, fuel theft is one of those major issues. Whether siphoning or maybe false fill ups at the fuel station and unauthorized detours where drivers are taking company cars to do or run personal errands on company time. Uh, every bit of fuel lost eats into operational costs, and that's a concern. Then we also see another challenge being vehicle misuse, with drivers again taking company vehicles for personal errands and sometimes, although not a popular thing, renting them out unofficially, leading to unnecessary wear and tear and legal risks, really, especially for fleet managers. On top of that, it comes with high operational costs from tolls, permits, and maintenance. And that adds more pressure to fleet management, right? Another thing not to forget, which actually is a good idea to look into as a fleet manager, to first look into this, especially when employing your drivers. It's driver behavior. So we are talking reckless driving, excessive idling, and even route deviations. Um, these don't just waste fuel, they increase accident risks and damage vehicles really in the long term. The key to solving these problems is definitely telematics. As a fleet manager, telematics can actually come in handy for you. where you're provided with real-time fuel monitoring, geofencing, and even that driver behavior tracking, where fleet managers can gain visibility of the fleet they're managing. And that, actually results in improving efficiency, right? So fleet managers are able to locate the cars in the fleet, or the fleet in total, and account for every minute of the day to say, okay, this is the route that was designated for this vehicle, and as a result, this is the route the vehicle drove, and everything is accounted for, which goes to speak to the bottom line, which is cutting costs and making sure that the fleet is not taking away from operational finance. However, it is putting back in, and it's profitable, right? Otherwise, it's not just about keeping costs down. It's also about building a system that runs smoothly, safely, and profitably, while strengthening the relationship and trust between drivers and management. Let's have a look at these in depth, right? And just see how, once we spotted a problem, how do we go about giving a solution in telematics? On our previous slide, we touched on challenges of fuel theft, operational costs, misuse of vehicles, and even bad driver behavior. So it's only ideal to look at how they can impact fleet management and what solutions can be administered. So we are going to start with fuel theft. Fuel prices are spiking, and just like that, your budget is going to find a strain, right? Deliveries start running late, customers get frustrated, and even tensions build between drivers and the office, which is actually to be expected. It becomes a ripple effect, you can say. And one thing goes wrong, and everything else starts to slip. But here's the thing: the moment you recognize the problem, you can start taking control with the right insights and tools, as well as solutions that are going to help you make smarter decisions, are in place, then you are bound to make an improvement with your fleet management. Telematic solutions can help you stay ahead. Think real-time fuel leveling monitoring. We're also talking fuel card integration, which can actually help you verify transactions when drivers are using fuel cards. You can also get geofencing around fuel stations and an exception reporting for, maybe, let's say, abnormal refueling patterns. With these in place, fleet managers can gain visibility and control they need to tackle those little tiny problems that amount to big operational problems. And on the concept of fuel and monitoring transactions, operational costs are a major thing when it comes to fleet management. Operating across borders brings a range of unpredictable costs: tolls, border permits, foreign exchange rates, even, and let's say an increase in maintenance. So, from tougher terrain and longer distances, poor route planning, delays on borders, and even non compliance fines, all these things add up, shrinking the profit margins and making cost forecasting a challenge. But with the right telematics tools in place, you can take back control. Optimized routing cuts down on fuel and toll expenses. Predictive maintenance, however, keeps vehicles in top shape. That way, you don't have unexpected maintenance. Driver scorecards is another one. It helps promote better driving habits. So your drivers will know that they need to keep to a proper driving habit in order not to go under the grade when it comes to driver scorecards. And another thing would be custom reports, where you get the full visibility into cross-border costs, tolls, mileage, helping you protect your bottom line and boost the return on investment. Another one listed as our logistics challenges is the misuse of vehicles. So, cross border fleets are especially vulnerable to vehicle misuse due to the distance they're driving from point A to the destination. And also the fact that there's limited visibility in remote areas, opening the door to unauthorized trips, personal errands, and even criminal activity. These all are a threat to an, a fleet manager that has to manage cross-border fleets, right? These kinds of misuse leads to increased wear and tear, high maintenance cost, legal liability, and elevated insurance premiums. Obviously, because of the destinations and the route in which these fleets have to go on. But with telematics, fleet managers can take control using customizable operating hours to flag off hour movement. This is geofencing and route compliance alerts, driver ID systems to ensure only authorized personnel are behind the wheel, and also trip classification. This is to separate businesses from business times to personal use if the drivers have to keep the car to themselves, all helping to protect the fleet and reduce risk. And lastly on the list is bad driver behavior. Driver behavior has a direct impact on fleet safety, fuel efficiency, and even your brand's reputation. Bad habits like speeding, harsh braking, aggressive driving, and excessive idling, especially during long haul cross border trips, can quickly escalate operational costs and safety risks. The result: higher accident potential, increased fuel use, vehicles and cargo damage, and even faster wear and tear critical components. Telematics, however, can help turn things around with real time driver behavior monitoring. Again, another one, scorecards to benchmark and reward good driving. That way, something motivates your drivers um, to know that okay, you're on a good track, or if they need in-cab coaching, right? Another thing is the fact that with telematics in place, you get to motivate your drivers to have a mentality of driving smarter and being vigilant on the roads, right? That's through our gamified training programs where we are putting, rather encouraging a safer approach to driving on the roads, which then, especially if you have branded vehicles or branded fleets, you are able to associate good driving with your fleet. Or it can be easily be on the negative side where your brand is associated with bad habit drivers. So with telematics in place, such things can be avoided. So now we're going to have a look at the impact of telematics on trade efficiency, right? By now, we have gathered that telematics is indeed a game changer. When it comes to optimizing logistics as well as fleet management, that we've been reiterating again and again. So, on our next slide, well, this slide, we will look at how telematics is impacting trade efficiency, right? With real time tracking, route optimization, and fuel monitoring, businesses can keep their fleet running efficiently while cutting down on costs and improving delivery times. But now let's picture a company using telematics to monitor vehicle locations, adjusting routes on the fly just to dodge, the traffic on certain routes, congestions on roads ahead. That way, they have the option to tell the driver to take an alternative route or reroute even, to make sure that they're not spending time on the routes that are mostly congested. And we also get to minimize on fuel consumption in that way because you're not spending time in traffic or idling because there's no way through. That kind of saves both time and money, especially for fleet managers. Then there's regulatory compliance, something that can be a logistical nightmare, especially across borders. So, telematics simplifies this by automating compliance reporting, making it easier for businesses to meet regulatory requirements. It does differ in different countries, but however, with telematics in place, that gets to be a bit simplified rather than it would be on a normal day. So no one wants fines or unexpected delays really to slow things down. And with these systems in place, companies can stay ahead of the game rather than scrambling last minute trying to meet the requirements, right? Perhaps the most valuable aspect of telematics. Um, but It enables the way you make data driven decisions. It gives you data informed information, and that way you get to make a decision from a perspective of proven data and being informed. So these systems collect and analyze large amounts of information, providing insights that can improve operational efficiency. So think about a driver behavior, vehicle performance, maybe, and businesses can actually take this data to develop targeted training programs, like fine tuning maintenance schedules and ultimately enhancing productivity. See, a comprehensive telematic solutions like GeoTabs One enables real time vehicle tracking. This means dynamic route optimization to avoid congestion, fuel usage monitoring, automated cross border compliance, as well as advanced analytics on driver behavior, vehicle performance, which as a result, it empowers businesses to boost efficiency, to reduce costs, and even make smarter data driven decisions. It's kind of clear that telematics is more than just a tracking tool by now. However, it is an intelligent system that's reshaping how fleet operations work for the better. So let's move on to our next slide just to get a better understanding through a case study. For case study purposes, let's say we have a company called Africa Logistics. Africa Logistics, let's say, is a key player in mining transportation from across Central Africa. So, obviously, as a result, they faced with serious operational hurdles, high fuel costs, limited fleet visibility, and challenges in keeping track of driver behavior, which are common challenges, as mentioned earlier in our presentation, that these are common challenges faced by fleet managers or logistics managers in the African region, right? Managing a fleet across Africa or in multiple countries, even with unpredictable terrains and inconsistent fuel supplies, only makes things that much difficult, right? At its core, Africa Logistics, the company struggles with a fleet tracking. Without a reliable system monitoring vehicles across vast regions, it can easily become a logistical nightmare. Again, fuel inefficiencies caused by poor route planning and excessive idling drive costs up, right? While the lack of real time driver monitoring poses as a safety risk and makes customer service inconsistent. So, those are all the challenges Africa Logistics is faced with. To turn things around, Africa Logistics adopted GeoTab's advanced telematic solutions, right? And this wasn't just about GPS tracking. They wanted to have a complete fleet optimization. So, with GeoTab's Go device, fleet managers gained real time visibility, ensuring that every vehicle was accounted for. Another thing is that fuel usage monitoring helped pinpoint these inefficiencies, right, to detect fuel theft and streamline consumption, while driver safety scorecards allow the company to analyze driving habits. This is from harsh braking, speeding, and aggressive driving, right? All with the goal of improving safety. Another thing that's positive about adopting a geotab solution is that you are able to customize a report and make decision making more accurate, giving managers the insight they need to refine operations. And the results will obviously be significant. Real time tracking, improved coordination, and the cut down on delays, which also speak directly to the bottom line of saving on costs. We also see how fuel costs will drop as routes were optimized and idling was reduced, because that eats directly at fuel. Driver coaching programs made a measurable impact on safety, which then it lowers accident rates and minimizing downtime. And with more accurate estimated times of arrival, real-time delivery updates translated to customer satisfaction, right? So Geotip Telematic Solutions gave Africa Logistics the tools to transform its fleet management, boosting efficiency cutting down on costs, daily operations rather, safer and more reliable, which to me, it's a perfect example of how data-driven technology is reshaping logistics in Africa. So, question is, will you follow in the footsteps of Africa Logistics? Although that was just a case study, but that is the story of many fleet managers across Africa with the help of Geotab Africa Solutions. So, if you want to have an optimized fleet, you should really consider telematics solutions, right? But that wraps it up, and hopefully, you now have a clearer picture of how smart fleet management can lead to real financial gains as well as a smoother cross border logistics operations. But now, we'd love to hear from you, and what challenges are you facing with cross border logistics? And if you're catching this later, no worries. Just drop your questions in the comment section and we'll make sure to respond back to you. So, to wrap it up, we have covered the following in this webinar: how telematics enhances trade efficiency by improving visibility and compliance, how companies that are leveraging telematics gain a competitive advantage in logistics. Also, the adoption of telematics and how it can lead to significant cost savings, improve safety, and better customer service. So, I hope this was insightful and it has given you more than enough information on cross-border logistics and how telematics can come into play to help fleet management be that much easier. Thank you so much for attending our webinar, and I hope it was insightful. And don't forget, if you couldn't catch the whole broadcast, you can rewatch it on our social media platforms. That is YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook. And we have it available on all those platforms. We're looking forward to seeing you attend our next session. For now, it's goodbye. Moving goods across Africa isn't easy. And if you're in the transport and logistics industry, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Cross-border logistics present many challenges in the Pan-African region, from border delays to poor road infrastructure, all the way to keeping cargo safe and reducing fuel consumption. These obstacles increase costs, slow down supply chains, and impact businesses. But with the right technology, they become opportunities for smarter, data-driven logistics. At Geotab, we provide telematic solutions that give fleet operators real-time tracking, predictive maintenance, and fuel optimization, while reducing downtime and increasing efficiency. I've seen how companies are leveraging this data to streamline operations and make informed decisions. Geotab is transforming cross-border logistics across Africa, and thanks to key partnerships that drive innovation and connectivity in the supply chain. With a growing footprint across the continent, we're committed to redefining the future of fleet management, ensuring that goods move seamlessly, efficiently, and securely. Geotab Africa,